Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Yes, You Got It, Hearts of Iron 3. And yes, even though we're looking at Europe, it is Japan we are playing. Okay, not a whole lot going on in Japan right now, but we have Yugoslavia has fallen. Germany and Italy are battling into Greece with the great bulk of the Panzer Army, as we can see here. And Vichy has joined the Allies and are pushing into German-controlled France, and Germany is reacting, so that's sort of why we're over here. I'll probably use that as the thumbnail headline for this episode. Try to be creative. You only see the one SA unit because they're not playing with, I'm not playing with Third Reich events. Soviet Union will no longer, we will no longer receive money for supplies, okay. And Italy and Britain battle it out in the desert. Now we'll increase the speed a little bit. Okay, and we're auto-saving. Let's see. Improve security units. Basically more suppression, though a few other things improve here and there. Speed and whatnot. Okay, down here, and yeah, we'll cancel that. I just, you know, the range added is nice, but the visibility and the air defense down, that just, I don't know that it's worth it. Don't know that there'll be places that I'll really want to be able to, just because I've been able to base out of places like Suriname and South America and other places like that, you know, when it goes Vichy and it's still there and whatnot. So the AI doesn't do a good job at cutting off all my bases. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. That is what, and that's why I don't do that. Oh, they've decided Vichy leaves the Allies. Sorry, Vichy refused to join the Allies. Okay. That is interesting. So they got moved via this sort of thing here. They're very pro Allies at the moment, but there's an event to keep them from going that way. How interesting. Good. Interesting. Okay. Carrier anti-aircraft fire control has improved. Nice. And that is grayed out. Let's come down now, down to here and do naval HQs, which will improve our organization for all of our ships. So we don't have Vichy France fighting at the moment. No. Pause. Okay, we've got to. Do we have an event or something? We give them money for metal from Vichy. Okay. We'll do that. I also sent down, yeah, here they are, large stack of MPs. quite sure where I'm going to send them. I think now, let's see, what is doing it here? Well, we have lots of suppression, of course, 37, because of a big stack of that MPs. I think it's the full historical axis that's pushing it down by 3. It's still, so it's keeping all of it. There. Okay. Good. I don't think this is a waste at all building these units here that we have built, because we're still going to see a lot of, hopefully, occupation, you know, in various islands, Singapore, and we will want to keep the suppression, not just hold them, but keep the suppression low so that we extract as much resources as practical out of it. We'll want to do that, as well as when we push into here. So that's always what I've sort of been weighing, is how much. We've got a lot of these guys out here, and we very well may have other events that push it, but I've always sort of been wondering just what's really needed. Okay, gyro site for our fighters. Is that under avionics? Yes. Oh, fighter pilot training. Yeah, that's an important one to do. May not be important to do right now, but it's important to get done. Yes, I'm intending to do a lot of watching of the European theater. No, not too little metal. While nothing's really going on in Japan. Okay, yeah, might as well take these guys. We already sort of paid for them. And broadcasting advance. Very good, very, very good. Okay, which we will stop now. Looking for 1940s or so. We got those, I guess. Yeah, because it will free up some of my favorites. So, yeah. Actually, a little bit of money for a lot of metal. Okay. That gets it out of U.S. hands, though Chile may eventually join the Allies. It did historically. And it's one that maybe I could even keep trading with until it joins the Allies, but even once I'm at war. Because its path, if I can secure some of these islands out here. Not that it would be, you know, impossible for them to raid me or any, you know, convoy raid me, but it's not like, you know, trading with Germany through, you know, past everything. Forming lots of HQs. Okay, I don't know if we'll get to use all of them. Obviously, we could stick them somewhere. Airborne unit training has advanced. I think that's here. Let's move it to jungle training. There we go. Oh, and we're also seeing a little bit of action up here. They're moving, well, they're moving a bunch of stuff up here. I think it's going to be a north to south push that we're going to see in through here. Because the AI can't get its act together to do a decent invasion. Okay, so we're great out there. We can do amphibious light armor. which the Japanese did, and their sort of solution is to mostly, I think you could describe it as sticking on a big metal bow on front of the tank, and maybe some other sort of metal sort of floats. You just basically, I presume, I haven't really seen any internal, but mostly I presume just hollow to give displacement. And of course you have to seal the tank up so it doesn't leak water into engine compartments and other things like that. You don't really have to seal that up if you have enough floats and you're sort of towing or having an outboard type motor type thing that you discard once the tank is ashore, and then you start some of it, at least to some degree, and float high enough, sort of making a possibly reusable but sort of a one-use boat that discards the bits and pieces. And that's sort of how the Japanese amphibious armor worked, in that they had the big bow that once you got out of the water, I think it was a quick discard. Not that you can't drive it with it, you could, but it looks very clumsy, and then I've often seen the same tanks without their bow. So I think once they get ashore, and they're going to be ashore for a little while and didn't have an immediate river to cross or something, they get rid of it to better move around. Okay, Canada, money, metal. Okay, obviously we won't keep that going once we're at war with the Allies, but for now. Fighter ground control. Okay, fighter ground control. That is here. Yes, okay. We're gonna let that go. CAG bomber focus. That is under carriers, I believe. Yes. Okay, so 44 and 42. So we'll get another shot at least probably around 41. We'll see about upgrading that. Push ahead a bit. Submarine fire control, there we go. Did I get there by a ship? Don't see a ship around here, but maybe we weren't watching that closely. Yeah, probably they'll do that within a year. Get Finland conquered. Okay, agricultural advance, more manpower. We'll do that one, and medium air search radar. Avionics, there we are. Well, they're pushing fairly deep down into Greece already. Good for them. Oh, the people that I think it's Fury Software. It's sold via or published via Matrix / Slytherin. I never know what to call them, and I'm not sure whether some. Well, yeah. But I think it's Fury Software is the company making it. They're announced that they're I don't know what stage they are, but soon they're going to be really they're doing dev diaries and whatnot. So soon they're going to be releasing Strategic Command World War II or something like that, because we've seen my Strategic Command War in Europe. This is going to be a new version of the game that's completely global. My understanding is like Hearts of Iron is. And I'm really looking forward to it, and I want to see how well their AI does things. And I'm really looking forward to it. I really am. But it has a lot more limitations than Hearts of Iron. And to me, it would never replace Hearts of Iron. But how do I put this? Hearts of Iron AI sucks. Hearts of Iron 4 does way too much alt history BS. And by that, I mean not that, well, alternative history, we're going to, instead of doing Operation Torch, we're going to leave Vichy neutral and send American divisions into, the Eastern Mediterranean. That kind of alt history, I'm great with. I would love to see, whether it's the AI or through events or something like that, push it in a different direction, Okay, that I'm cool with. Or even Soviet Union gets permission from Hitler to push into Turkey or something. Something that's a reasonable, not like, oh, what if in 1938 Germany goes communist? Or America goes fascist. Yes, and I know some of you out there like that. America goes fascist. Let's play that. Yeah. You do understand that there's absolutely no possibility of that happening. That isn't like that's like into the realms. And I was asked recently on Twitch, because some of the Twitch viewers have found my channel. And liked Hearts of Iron, but they haven't watched a lot of stuff that I've done. But one of them recently asked, because I think it was yesterday as I was making this, had I ever seen Man in the High Castle? And yes, I saw them all. And he definitely understood that it was a complete fantasy. That not that that it could happen. The point I was sort of chatting back to him was, it's unrealistic of Germany or America to lose World War II. And I do know that part of the Man in a High Castle is Germany drops an atomic bomb on Washington, D.C. or something like that. And so yes, with enough wacky what ifs. What if America did not do the Manhattan Project? What if Hitler not only did a Manhattan Project, but had access to enough uranium and other materials to build bombs in a big enough thing, and what if the Japanese somehow invaded? Because I remember, I think it was season 1 of it or something. Yeah, I binge watched the first couple of seasons, but when we were sort of like we were losing on the other flanks, and so we decided for a mass attack straight into San Francisco, like as a roll of the dice, and that's how we won in the Pacific. Recently found online, just someone that scanned a sort of a unit commemorative book that was printed somewhere at 4041 of coastal artillery, and I'm pretty sure it was for a West Coast coastal artillery unit. The author who thought about that didn't understand how well defended the West Coast was. Not that it was like some impregnable fortress, but throwing. I don't know how many divisions are they thinking Japan was going to be able to throw. One, how many would they have had? Two, how many would they have been able to put on ships? And so, if you get enough wacky what ifs, what if Japan had 10 times the number of aircraft carriers that they had? Yeah, well, what if? Or what if, because you do understand, unless you've taken Hawaii, but even if you've taken Hawaii, do you understand how many ships you're going to need to move? I don't know, because throwing 3 or 4 divisions, landing 3 or 4 divisions. Oh, you might be able to, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the geography around San Francisco area here, but you might be able to throw, take San Francisco with 3 or 4 divisions. Might, I say. This is looking from San Francisco north. I think. Looks odd because I think I don't know. I'm pretty sure that that's the north side because it's too forested. But all along here is fairly cliff-like. You now get in here. This is all flatlands. This you can't really see. It's sort of like this coming up and around here. So once you get past here, now there are some beaches that you can land on, but they're pretty small, quite honestly. This is I've gone to the coast around in San Francisco a little bit, but much more down in Carmel, in what they're calling King City down here, where I would sort of go Monterey, but sort of along here. I've spent not at any one time, but probably 2 or 3 months of my life, in like 4 or 5 days at a time or something like that. Driving around here on Highway 1, camping and staying in hotels at different times and whatnot. It's a wonderful place. Literally, it's a little colder. It's not, the water is definitely colder that you don't want to really go swimming without a wetsuit. So it does, there's a lot of good surfing up there if you're sort of a wetsuit type surfer. But getting much more north of Santa Monica, or Santa Barbara, I should say, because there's Santa Monica, but much north of Santa Barbara, the water starts getting colder and colder and colder. It's not like coming down here and hanging out at the beach. It's lovely cold beaches, going out on the beach wearing a sweater or something, it's not like it's, well, you can get the winter or you can get, early in the morning or something, but in a nice sunny day, it's sort of a brisk, nice being out at the beach weather in a sweater, so it's not a bathing suit kind of thing so much. You can go swimming, but it's sort of chilly, and you got to be one of those people who likes chilly waters briefly. King City, that's Hearst Castle up there that you're seeing. It's not really a castle, it's more like a grand palace thingy, but so yeah, maybe you could throw 3 to 6 divisions ashore and secure this territory. But in no way does that secure you that much territory. You just don't understand. If you think that that's a possibility. And I understand that the author, Philip K. Dick or whatever, needed to have some sort of setting to have partially Japanese occupied, partially not Nazi occupied America, and then to write a story. I totally get that. That's why I sort of dig watching Man in the High Castle, and I've criticized some of the stuff, the way they view some of the Nazi things and whatnot. But that is, complete what if fantasy. Well, that's about as big a what if fantasy as if the fascists, whether it's the Silver Legion, the German American Bund, or maybe some other group, but those are the 2 main ones, would actually get in charge of America. Okay, I mean it's just complete lunacy Okay, starting in 36, it's just complete lunacy, and I would say from almost any time. But it's about as complete lunacy as Kaiserreich game is. And now that's what I think I'm playing when I'm playing Kaiserreich. It's sort of a lunatic world. And so, I can deal with that when I know that I'm playing lunatic Kaiserreich. That's all set up to be wacky, wet alt history. Well, so that's part of the problem with Hearts of Iron 4 is the lunatic. And I know it's really popular. They get lots of feedback, and a lot of people are playing, and one of the big things that's really super popular is playing sort of restored Kaiser Germany. That's because there's a bunch of Germans that want to do world conquest, but too ashamed to do it under Hitler's Nazi banner. That's straight up what it is. I'm not going to... for some reason, this has gone to Free French, because maybe they took it while they were at war with Germany, and when they got peace again, they kept it, and that's supposed to be Free French. Okay, whatever. And I'm absolutely sure that as well as whether you're British, Dutch, or Russian, or whoever, you want to play World Conquest Germany, but you don't want to associate in your mind yourself with, because it's not just Germans that are playing it, but whoever it might be, want to do a world conquest game, but don't want to associate yourself with German and the Nazi, Hitler and the Nazis, I should say. So, that I get that. I get the, the other day I was looking through collecting photos of things, including, stuff, models, and nice people put together nice models, and you can often see things better than in a really high level model than you can easily see them in a photograph of the real thing, because just the angles and things that are photographed. But I just had to think about some of these Japanese model makers who are making aircraft models of the planes that bombed them. And I just had to wonder what's going through their mind, at that. And I'm going, yeah. Now, of course, a lot of American model makers make, the Zeros and the carrier bomber planes that bomb Pearl Harbor. But also, which there's the added thing is they're the army that defeats Japan. Now, maybe they're all at peace with it because they really think post-war Japan, Japan's old order needed to be blown apart. They needed to be bombed to change Japan's culture to what it is today, and they like what it is today, and they know that if they had went down that, because I don't know if I was also watching an interview with one of the actors who is playing the Japanese guy, and he's sitting at the table, talking to some of these reporters, and he's an American. And he's sitting like an American. I know I've talked about walking, compared to the way he sits and moves when he's playing a Japanese. Because he's rigid. He's playing a Japanese. Japanese move different. He's Japanese American. He's Japanese racially. But you can see when he's sitting at the table and talking, not just his accent, but the way he sits, the way his hand movements, that he totally suppresses and goes very rigid and does the Japanese body posture. This is how I can tell some of the difference between like Chinese and Japanese, just by the way they move, the way they sit. And so I could do it to some degree from their backs, without not seeing their face. So it's not like, oh, well, somehow I can tell a Chinese from Japanese. I mainly tell Chinese from Japanese by the way they move. Also the way they dress, and there's other key factors. And I'm sure I can be wrong. And again, you can fool me by having a Chinese person behave and dress like a Japanese person, or vice versa. It's not any sort of super great gift. It's just observing the way people move. And so this actor who I thought was because I haven't really delved in much, but they did some publicity interviews for their recent release of the latest season of Man in the High Castle. Who I took to be a Japanese person playing the role. But no, he's an American playing a Japanese person. And does speak some Japanese in the series, but it's mostly, they're speaking in English. But he's sort of speaking with a sort of a slight Japanese-esque accent in the series, if I'm remembering everything correctly. But it sort of struck me with that. But so maybe a modern Japanese person looks at, yeah, we needed to be bombed. We needed those American bombers to come over and kill the Japanese people to defeat the old system. It wasn't just the emperor, because we still have an emperor, and there still is an emperor in Japan, but that sort of militaristic attitude, that sort of feudalistic attitude, a lot of that stuff needed to be literally pounded out of Japan to create modern Japan. Now, a Japanese person from the 1930s may go to modern Japan and look around in horror to them. Oh, sure, there's prosperity, but God, this is what's become of my descendants? They may be in horror, but the modern Japanese may be going, yeah, this is much better than... Now, I'm not talking about the poverty or the starvation in old imperial Japan. I'm talking about the social order kind of thing. So maybe they're seeing that, and so, wonder how they're thinking about it. And so, I have, American friends who, are Americans, but their father or their grandfather was a German soldier in World War II. And sometimes post-war, their father or grandfather, depending on the age of the person and whatnot, moved to America and, had children here, and their children grew up here and whatnot. So, and some of them, married American women, so they have ancestors that fought on either side. So, they're sort of conflicted, and they sort of, glad, because they see themselves as American. So, they're absolutely glad that America won, and they're not Nazis, so they hate Hitler. But they're sort of proud of their German ancestors who fought in the war. One, if I remember correctly, was an engineer soldier on the Eastern Front for most of his war or something. Yeah, and so, proud of that, too. So I get the sort of duality, and I could sort of very much get the modern German hating the Nazis and going, yeah, America needed to defeat us. And so why they might make... But I would still sort of, I don't know if I would want to spend the time to make model aircraft specifically of the planes that bomb German cities. I don't know. See, because I'm such in a different position. I'm an American. I had relatives fight in World War II. Obviously, none that I knew, because I'm born after it, but I don't know of any that died in World War II. So I'm thinking of two. One was a Marine, another one was a soldier. Both served in the Pacific. The soldier went on. Miss Korea was playing with tactical nukes in Turkey during that time, but was in Vietnam. He was a career soldier officer by the time you're going through. I don't know if he started out as an officer. I'm not sure, but ended his military career as a colonel. And, so he was World War II in the Philippines, infantry soldier, commanded a battalion or whatever in the Vietnam War. So you sort of, extensive, and I got to know him fairly well. So I've had ancestors fighting in relatives. Not my two grandfathers that were alive. Neither of them served. I've mentioned that before, but one brother and a cousin did. So, but my state, my region, and basically my whole country, because the Philippines, not the Philippines, Hawaii, even if you count Pearl Harbor, that was just off territory that's just, people died in it, but mostly, it was a military base attack. We don't have that sort of experience of being bombed or attacked in a civilian way. All of, and like a, talk about with him some, experience in the Philippines, liberating the Philippines. Talked a little bit about his war with him and whatnot. But it's sort of an overseas expeditionary army type situation that, sure, Americans died in it, but and many of them had no choice because they were drafted. It wasn't just modern professional soldiers that took their chances because they wanted to be a soldier. No, they were, it's important, and it obviously disrupted massive amounts of lives. Lots of people doing war industry and other things, putting their lives on hold. All this kind of stuff's going on. So it's a big disruption into the U.S. But it's absolutely nothing like, saying, living in London and being bombed. There's nothing like that. I just have no family history. I visited London, visited air raid shelters, looked at coastal defenses a little bit, more photos, but a little bit in reality, in Britain and different things like this. And yeah, and and obviously, if you've been around, my ancestry is, and you can maybe tell from my very Scottish-oriented, is Scottish and English ancestry. So it's my historical ancestral homes too, long before. But I have no, family connection with suffering bombings by the Nazis, or the Japanese or whatever. And why are they off fighting in Greece and leaving Leibstandard to hold a no-name freaking Port Saint Malo in France? God damn you, freaking AI. Oh, God. Yeah, sure. Your SS Garrison craptastic units. Yes, that's appropriate. That's what's supposed to be here. And then below it, I can see there, we have a motorized division. That's not supposed to be a garrison stuff. And then Windhound, or whatever this is over here, the earlier version thing of it. Yeah, okay, it's maybe just a cool-ass infantry division, but still. So that's maybe okay, but motorized units, another one here. Well, that would have the saving grace, that one, that it's a central reserve to rush to one of the ports that's attacked. But then, of course, we have it's a Czechoslovakian tank panzer division, but a panzer division there holding a port, and you have infantry divisions back. See that, talking before about alt history and why I want to play strategic command. I mean, if you don't remember, this long diatribe was why I want to play strategic command. World War II, the whole thing, is to see how the AI does, because like I say, the AI for, because I played a fair amount of strategic command war in Europe, but the units can't overstack very much, and so you have, it's all weird. You have artillery division, artillery thing, and it's a nice rendition of sort of old, or breakout version from the old Third Reich, which I grew up playing, so there's a lot of, limitations, and that, like, to get back to it, there's turns, that are, much more seasonal than, because if you don't realize it, and I don't know exactly how they determine initiative, but this is a turn-based game, people. It's just turn-based on the hour. Each hour, it's a turn going back and forth. That's how it's played. Now, it needs a lot more AI checking on stuff than strategic command does. Okay, totally get that. So it needs a more sophisticated AI in that sense. But the AI programmers, okay, here, see, look, here's the problem. Not talking about this Core HQ. Core HQ, that's actually pretty damn good. It's, if its units are somewhere in this, area. Okay, that's making a big presumption, but it is. Okay. Now you have Rommel versus Vaanu instead. Rommel, who had experienced primarily in North Africa, but actually he was put in charge of northern Italy for a brief while before the Italy collapses. And Kesselring ends up being in charge, but he's for a while in charge of German troops up in here while Italy's still in the war, sort of getting, ready for possible invasion. So he's definitely, and I think when he's doing up here, I think the U.S. is landing in Sicily and whatnot. I think that's the same time. But so he has experience and knows how bad it is to operate under Allied air power. So, then just given the background to this. So he wants to have the Panzer divisions either like right on the freaking beach or right here, one province behind. Okay. Something like that, obviously, because he might have put them literally right on the beach, but he wanted them up here. Where von Rundstedt, who hadn't experienced Allied air, fighting under Allied air power, fighting under his own air power, he had experienced. And you got to remember, unless you're talking about the few months leading up to it, which the Allies then do a lot of sort of tactical pre-bombardment of hitting bridges and railways and all these other things, trying to just isolate out this area. Until you get to that phase, most of the Allied bombing is either like deep into Germany, or if it is sort of in this sort of region, it's targeted on factories. Because I know at least once they bombed some of the military production factories within Paris. They were doing other raids, definitely doing raids on, submarine pens and whatever else. So von Rundstedt is in charge while some of this is going on, but it's all sort of strategic air power. So he's not experiencing how to move units. Okay. So you do have the sort of, would it be better to have the Panzer Division sitting in the port, or would it be better to have it back as a reserve? Okay. That's a legitimate argument, okay? And so you guys are with me on that. But here's, we can hover, we can't select, but we can hover here. There's 2 infantry divisions, and yes, they use the symbol for a motorized sort of artillery unit, but really means medium, because it used to be the motorized unit, but now it's medium, whatever. That's there. So those are 2 walking infantry divisions. Okay. So, if you have the mindset that it's best to stick everybody guarding the ports, and then once we learn, oh, well, they're invading here at La Rochelle. Okay, now we can start sending troops from other places, okay. But just until, instead of having a reserve sitting back here, let's have troops, that are reserved for other places, reserved for somewhere, are sitting in guarding the front line. Okay, that can make sense. I notice we have another infantry up there. Okay, but if we're going to have and maybe this is something of a suppression, I don't know. But if you're going to have a reserve unit up here, it should be a motorized unit, like an armored division. And the unit that's dug in at the coast should be the infantry division. Now, I'm not an AI writer, programmer, whatever, that could program this in. But I know this division here just because the way it's sort of made up, and it's at this current stage, is a very, very fast division. It moves probably one of the fastest, German divisions currently available. And yeah, so it moves really fast. So it should not be a division that is set for static anything. Okay. So either you need to develop a AI that looks at speed. How fast does this unit move? Or looks at type. This is a garrison unit. You don't want this unit to be the reserves for this province. Okay. Now there is a garrison unit there. And here is a What the hell is... Okay, okay, the special elite light infantry is part of the command unit here, and then it's a militia unit here with some sort of fascist militia thingy with SS whatnot. Okay. So... Like... Oh, God. Again... You put the... And these are okay. These are weak Garrett. Well, it has heavy artillery with the anti-aircraft, and these are fairly weak. But they're going to be slow, so you're never going to get them quickly somewhere. So I don't know if it's evaluating these as that they have good suppression because they're garrison units, which generally have better suppression for the manpower or the strength size. I mean, not that infantry divisions don't have okay suppression, they do. But it's just, and this is some other, oh God, yeah. So I can see the possibility that the AI evaluates, but, okay, you know, why is it even putting any troops here in Cannes? Well, that's where D-Day happened. Yeah, but there's no ports there. But there's actually a port here, but it's really small. It was one of the invasion ports that Napoleon was getting ready to invade Britain, and it's long and narrow, and it's probably much silted up by... Well, they may have dredged out a lot of it, but it isn't going to be a large shipping port for any sort of ships, modern ships of World War II period to get into. Maybe largest fishing boats, but that's about it. Okay, so you can see something come along here. Port, 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 port. So far we've yet to hit, oh, do we say port here too? So far we've yet to hit a non-port. We were to hear port. A non-port that has a coastal non-port from here. Coming from here, not up here, but from here, because this has a port. From here to here, we've yet to hit a single non-port that has a coastal, you know, a coastal port, a coastal province that has a garrison unit of any sort. Okay, non-port, non-port, port, port, non-port, 2 units, non-port. Port, non-port. Okay, you see a pattern here? Oh, we got the SA up here. No port, but there. That, I think, is the only other non-port that has a unit in it. And I'm not sure why this is here. Not sure. Whether it's seeing an airbase and a good suppression, because this SA unit will have good suppression. But there's 2 provinces, but this one has 2 units in it. Okay, why does this have 2 units in this? Because some AI programmer told it to. Okay. Not programming oh, well, when you figure out, oh, good, we also have Das Reich sitting way up here. Now, again, I don't know why we have 2 Panzer divisions. Well, I don't know if Das Reich really is a Panzer division. It's a motorized division, but you have the other. Why they're sitting up here, I don't understand this. But, so, you know, and I did notice this here. I don't know what it's thinking up here, but I could be entirely wrong, but I don't think so. I think I have enough evidence showed, except for a couple of places up here, and this with this thing here, I don't know. But with 2 of them here, I really, really think that instead of just the idea of well, we're trying to, you know, defend the coastline because you could be invaded somewhere else, you know, kind of, you know. No. This somehow... There's one last thing, let me check. I know that was a victory. Nope, I wanted to see if these were victory provinces or this one. Nope. But no victory province. No victory province, no victory province. No victory province here. None here. So it's not just defending victory provinces. That was my last sort of thing. I will look here. Okay. Maybe the resources. Okay, but a factory? One factory, does that get? Well, that has 4 factories. Maybe it's the factory. Maybe it's a factory. It's either the factories and resources here. That's a possibility. Or a programmer told, put a priority on this province somehow. But, okay, so. Okay. Back to it. I want to see how well, and again, it's more simplistic. I sort of got back on track. It's more simplistic that, the way the units are in Strategic Command than Hearts of Iron. So it has to do less processes per thing, and it only has to do them every turn, and there's a whole lot less turns. I get all of that, but I want to see how well they program a global AI, and countries like the USA, how does it deal with the sort of 2 theater wars? Because I've you know, looking at Britain in Europe, sure, but Britain with everything 2 theaters, you know, Japan is a 1 theater. So that's why I want to play it. I really want to play it to see. I hope I can get them to give me a review copy, because their games are expensive. I want to see how they do in which is, in my opinion, undoubtedly a more simplistic thing, but I don't think the overall strategic importance of it, because was it Dark Star? One of you, sorry, I get confused sometimes, or don't remember whatever was talking about how, well, in one game, you know, Britain moves all of its forces, I don't know, over here or somewhere, and then Japan just walks into India, you know. It doesn't understand strategic reserves. We see tactical reserves, but that's what I'm taking this to be, tactical reserves. But it puts the most mobile division right up on there, and then one of these here is a standard infantry division. Switch it. Can't you, see speed? Can't you teach it speed? Put speedy units in reserve. Put slow units in the ports. That's all. That's simple. I mean, literally, it's that simple. And maybe, because and I don't know, but is having this, because this is a, the Czech armor, so it's weaker. And the division under here is also another Czech armor division under the Das Reich. That those may be weaker panzer divisions than these panzer divisions coming in here. Yeah, maybe. Very likely, maybe. And so that they're concentrating their better stuff down here. Yeah, that could be. That really could be. But some of the simple stuff like that. Okay, let's heavy bomber prototypes have advanced. And allows construction of heavy bombers, which I don't know if I'm going to do, but we can do that. It's just heavy bombers have been, in my opinion, a little over nerfed for everything but strategic bombing. So that's sort of why I'm probably not going to build them. But it allows some of these other things to be researched. And okay, that is grayed out, but some of these other things like 4-engine bomber layout, you see they affect nav, air, and flying boat. That's why I wanted that, as well as heavy transport, which I only have one, and I'm not planning on building more at this point. I might build more, but not planning, you know, in 1940, I'm not planning on building more right now. Okay, small arms have advanced. Very good, and yes, we want to do that. Get that off there. Okay. Well, mentioning some improvements, let's start here. We've got a little bit more. Got these things freed up, but again, a lot of those are strategic. We'll see attack. Maybe we'll do that once we get date moving forward. 4-engine bomb bay, flying boat, and nav air. So we want to do that. So that's why I wanted to open that up. And now I've told you that if I let this game hang too long and then try to save it, I get a crash. So we are letting it, okay, whoop, let's hydrophone advance. Very good. We can listen underwater. That's under, okay, 44, way too far in the future. And sonar detection equipment, that probably under submarines. And they can listen for sonar better and figure out which direction it is. And what does Germany want? We give them money for metal. Decline. Okay, let's see if we can successfully save this now that we have let the clock rock and roll. Very good. Now, we're going to end the episode here. I want to thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking the videos. Sorry to have to put up for me about, I know I went off on a tangent there, and then that went off on a couple other tangents before I brought it back, but you know, is why I'm looking, because it's two things. It's the AI. I'm not going to go into the details, of course, again, AI, and the I think the all that alt history stuff isn't bad, and not that it shouldn't be done, but should really be put in a DLC. You know, because, hey, if I was Paradox and there was this really popular alt history stuff that people wanted to play, I would be making the DLCs too, because I want to make money. But I would first get the goddamn war to run right. You know, to run realistically, somewhat dynamically. Like, well, what if? You know, because right now, what, here, you know, this always goes, Soviet gets to take these over. But you realize there should be the choice, because the original plan was the Vistula here, at least this part here, that was to go to the Soviets. Well, the Germans pushed a bit further, got to sort of Brest-Litovsk, and they then quickly renegotiated, okay, you can have Lithuania, and we'll keep this. Okay. Well, make it to go, well, what if? You let the Soviets have this and Germany has this. Or what if Germany demands this but doesn't give up this? What does the Soviet Union do? Now, you could go, oh, well, that would start a war. I don't think it would have, not in 1940. Obviously, they went to war in 1941, but I don't even think it would have started a war in 41. But it might have either meant a Soviet embargo, because if you watch my Third Reich series, you know how much trade there was going on between Germany and the Soviet Union. It might be an embargo, or it might be higher trade prices, or other similar things. And again, here before I, oh god. Okay, we got a mountain unit here. Mountain unit, okay. Well, let's get over here. Okay, it's in a forest. There's swamps. Okay. Mountain units might do okay. There. Oh, let's look at all the mountain units up here. Oh, there's one. Got one. We've got one. We've got a mountain unit. We found one mountain unit up in northern Norway, other than the unit spawned as well, that really isn't a mountain unit. It's just SS garrison unit that eventually changed. We've got a mountain HQ here. Another mountain HQ. Okay, well, we got Deedle down here. Got a mountain unit down here. Looking to see if we have any mountain. Well, we got commandos. Occupying here. Yeah, this is, I mean, this sort of sucks because something that the AI should be able to do, but we all know the AI isn't going to combine this really cool commando unit that has so little frontage and probably is too weak unless you're really just going after a super weak garrison unit, or, you know, airborning it in or naval invading it into some, you know, undefended port or something that you're doing really fast. And like I remember the old Gotterdammerung DLC in which Germany destroyers and light cruisers could get, if you did the one research thing, could get some carrying weight capacity, not much, but enough to stick some, you know, put a bunch of them together, stick a unit like this on to do sort of, you know, a commando type raid up into there kind of thing. Then, oh, here's another mountain unit with an elite HQ. And it's sitting out here in the open plains. Guarding, well, we can say that, yes, there is a enemy power on the Baltic Sea, but do we really think it could invade? And do we really think that, well, maybe they've sent enough of the German battle fleet to get sunk out here, because I know we've lost some, or they've lost some ships. Well, maybe they have sunk enough battle fleet that Finland could successfully invade. Yeah. And so it's things like that that just, that the AI can't get the idea. And yeah, I see some of those self-propelled artillery divisions that are, or artillery units that are meant to be attached to somewhere else, but the AI just isn't going to do that well. And so that's sort of some of that reorganization I forgive. That would be hard to have the AI do, maybe, but oh yeah, another, oh yeah, so Kubler here, he's a good mountain commander here. And yeah, Breslau city garrison. Now maintaining Klingeb or whatever SS there, yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Keep the SS garrison unit if you need to garrison the town. You know, even got hills here. These are just hills, and you've got a garrison division. You could have the garrison unit there, and the mountain division here. Yeah. Yeah, I know this is more valuable because it has all of these ICs and whatnot in it and other things. So that's probably why it's garrison. But sorry, I know with another thing, it's turning out to be the Angry Gamer show. You know, I didn't start out mad. I didn't have a bad day. Actually, I had a fairly decent day. Nothing great happened, but it's just a good day. Yeah, I know I've already said goodbye. I guess we're going to end it here. Thanks so much. See you next time.